somebody yelling, "Why are we not online yet? Why are we not online yet?"
We've been doing
It's just now 6 o'clock. I tell you, people, I'm frazzled today. So anyway, the song "I Love This Bar," they changed the words to it, but he still loves Watts Bar. It's really cool. All right, well, good evening. Throttle Up Back of Bible Study. How we doing tonight?
tired.
Well, I'm glad y'all are doing that way. Some of us need all the help we can get today. That's for sure.
Some of us need to be back at the beach. That was a fun vacation. 24/7 access to my little grandbabies. That was perfect.
Yeah, I bet that was good.
It was.
I'm going Friday.
I hope you had as much fun as we did. Had the beach out the back door and pool out the front.
Yeah.
It was nice.
All right, tonight we're going to be in Exodus 21. I hope y'all can hear me out there. We've worked on the microphones again this week. Hopefully we got all that messed up, straightened out. So where are we? What's going on in this story?
We've got the 10 Commandments.
You got the 10 Commandments, right? So
They got out of Egypt.
Right. So Moses led the people out of Egypt. God parted the Red Sea. They crossed on dry land. All that good stuff, right? And then they start complaining. Constantly complaining. What are we going to eat? So, God sent bread out of heaven and doves, right?
And it looked like flakes.
Quail.
Quakes.
Quakes. I'm telling you, people, I'm tired. But they still complain. What we're going to drink? The water doesn't taste very good. So, I think a lot of us would say our kids or grandkids are probably Jewish. Anyway, but I love it. Good comment, Jamie.
They kept complaining, are we there yet?
Are we there yet? It's only supposed to take a few days. It's been 40 years. No, we ain't even got that far yet. So they're at Mount Sinai, and God calls Moses up and said, "Don't let anybody touch the mountain, but you come up." Right? And he gave Moses the 10 Commandments, right? Or as our friend said in one of the best movies ever made, he's given us these 10 Commandments.
Love that movie. Can't help it. Love that movie.
Anyway, so we talked last week about the 10 Commandments, and I said if you really look at the list that's broken up into two sections, the first 4 are between you and God, the last 6 are between you and man. And I made the comment, one of the best things I ever heard about the New Testament and what Jesus said, when Jesus was confronted with what is the greatest commandment, he said, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul." And I can't talk today. Anyway, so love your Lord or your God. And then love each other as you do yourself. That covers all 10 of them. So even though he gave just 2, all 10 are covered. And then we told you what Jesus said each one meant. What does it mean about murder? What does it mean about fornication? What does it mean about, and then we talked about stealing, even 5 minutes of time from your company. And if that was all there was to it, we could do the Cupid shuffle and just be happy. But no. Chapter 21 is a whole bunch more laws.
Here we go again.
Are you in control? Because I hadn't brought my thing up yet. Thank you. So chapter 21 says, "Now these are the rules that you shall set before them." So once again, this is God speaking directly to Moses. All they hear and see is the thunder and the lightning and the ground shaking, right? Because whenever God speaks, people pay attention, right? Yeah, just for a little bit, and they forget. Number 2, when you buy a Hebrew slave. Stop right there. These are Hebrews. Why would they have slaves of their own? Let me explain. Well, there's no time. Let me just sum up. Anyway, so you have situations at that time where a person may owe you, but he can't pay. For example, his crops failed and he needed food. So he came to you and he got food and he has to pay you for it, but he can't pay because he has no crops. That makes him your servant. Now, indentured servitude, that's right. Now, there is a huge difference in what we Americans think of as a slave and what these people were, okay? Here's a couple of the differences, and we'll actually see these in a minute. One, if you are a person's slave, then that person is your master, and most people hate that word, but that is the slave-master relationship. A master does not own you, but a master is responsible for you. He has to make sure you have a place to live, a bed to sleep in, food to eat, school for your children. You're taken care of.
Medical care.
Okay? It's not what we think of as the word slave because of what happened in this country so many years later. I'm not saying that slaves anywhere were not that way. I'm saying this is not the same thing. Okay? So these slaves, these servants are owed up to that master, and then there's rules about how the master has to take care of those people. And that's what the next 30 lines are. So here we go.
How long do you have to be a slave for?
It's going to tell you. It's absolutely going to tell you here in just a minute. It's 6 years.
For crops?
Yeah.
Is it 6 years
No matter what. You'll see it. Just let me get there. So when you buy a Hebrew slave, in other words, you acquire it from somebody else, right? He shall serve 6 years. See, it's going to come up seconds. And in the seventh, he shall go out free for nothing. Notice it does not say what level of payment he owes or anything like that, right? Now, there are other crimes that a person can commit that doesn't allow them to be a slave, but they have to be killed. And that word killed is not the same word as the word murder that we read about last week, okay? We'll get to that as well. But here it is. If a slave is owned by a master, he's owned for 6 years. On the 7th year, he goes free. If it was that simple, we'd be done, but it's not. If he comes in single, as in not married, he shall go out single. But if he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. Okay, now that's pretty cool, right? Right? I take this slave in. I also take in his wife, right? And because they're married. And then when he goes out, she goes too. And once again, simple step, right? And if that were it,
Oh, Lord.
but no. If his master gives him a wife, and did I skip something there? If his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone. If you come in married, you go out married. You come in not married, I give you a wife, and even if you have children, they're mine. Oh, say that again. Have you read ahead?
No, I'm just saying. He better. He would.
Let's read on. It says, the wife and her children shall stay the master's, and he shall go on. Verse 5. But if the slave plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go free. Exactly what you asked me, right? Then his master shall bring him to God, and he shall bring him to the door or the doorpost. Okay, yeah, Judges, right. I don't have my papers here in front of me because something happened to the printer today. Well, you have to understand, It's that's not a person of a judge. We haven't even got to that part yet. It's the concept of being judged.
Like judgment.
Judgment, yes. Oh, she's reading ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets wild.
Oh, don't ruin it for us. I didn't.
All right, so it says here, but if the slave plainly says, I will not go free, then his master shall bring him to God. He shall bring him to the door or the doorpost or to the judges. And his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall be his slave forever. Wait. Now you're reaching up here and doing this. Let me see.
Yeah.
You have an earring?
No.
Okay. Some of you do? That's all it means.
Oh.
They punch a hole in the ear.
With an awl.
Which,
so it's more than just an earring. An awl is going to be bigger than just a piercing you get at Walmart.
wait.
It's gonna be like a gauge.
Like a gauge. Thank you. That's the word I was going to go to. But yes, it's a little bit bigger than a pencil.
She here and there, and in 6 weeks you got this big. It's like wham, you
Yeah.
got it that big.
Y'all
Yeah.
are talking about like small part. He can't get out of there alive. Yeah, y'all are like pieces.
You
He's
realize
like
you're
stuff.
sitting
I'm
right
sitting
there.
thinking, well, this is a trap. Right?
Okay. Wait, we'll come back to that part. We will come back to that part. I want to stay on the earring thing.
This chick he throws at me, I'm stuck here for life.
Or you can leave by yourself.
Yeah, you can leave them.
But you can leave. You have to leave her and the children, and you can leave by yourself.
Jamie's debating what he would do.
Sounds like a trap to me, man. That's all I can say.
So it says that they put a hole in the ear with an awl. And yet we do that to our, in my personal case, my infant girl's ears. Well, that's where the ritual came from, was to make someone a slave for life.
Different from branding.
Right?
Same
Brandy,
thing.
you're fine. Oh, sorry.
You know, as if you were branding a cow or a horse or anything like that.
Now he's
It's
calling
just
us cows.
Well, no. It's the male that gets branded, so it's the horse over there. Yeah. Frau Brucker. All right, so y'all got the picture, right? Comes in single, goes out single. Comes in married, goes out married. Comes in single, gets married. Oh, he's in deep trouble. He has to choose, right? Yeah, it's that horse that went by. Anyway, where am I? Then his master shall bring him with an awl and shall be his slave forever. Again, this is a choice that they would make, right? So when a man sells his daughter as a slave, wait a minute. Tell me one person in this lifetime that would sell his daughter as a slave. It happens every day. Dadgum, he thinks like I do. Okay. If you have a family that has nothing to eat, and you have a daughter that you could sell for enough to feed the rest of your family, you would. You can't sit there and say you wouldn't, because you would think of the other children. This is what you have to really stretch your mind around. This is not just selling a girl into slavery. Remember, she's only going to be there 6 years, because on the 7th year she'll go free, right? Just keep that in mind. In this particular case, now, in all these other religions and all that other stuff that goes on in the world, no way. It's a whole lot worse, right? So, but when a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. Meaning, I just said she'd serve 6 years? Not necessarily, right? If she does not please her master, who has designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has broken faith with her. Does King James say it some way?
Betrothed.
Yeah, the betrothed, right? So here's what that means. Okay, so the father is not selling the daughter as a slave by itself. You want my daughter in marriage? I can sell her to you. Now, someone please help me in getting the story right. What is a dowry?
It's money that they pay to the bride's family.
To the bride's family. Why?
So that if the marriage doesn't work, it takes care of the bride.
Call a bride price. Dowry went with the daughter.
The dowry goes from the daughter's father to the husband. And if the husband doesn't like the wife, he sends her home. But since she could not produce children for him, the dowry is to hire people to work the fields. So we all had that basic concept. We're just missing the points, right? Well, here's where it comes back into play. Now he has sold his daughter into slavery, right? And then it says that he wants to keep her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed, meaning that she's no longer a slave. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people. That you can't do that, right? That's not the agreement that was made for her. Since he has broken faith. Broken faith is a term that over time becomes the concept behind which we get the word divorce. So if someone breaks faith with someone, breaks the concept of the covenant they have made, that is like getting a divorce. Yeah, dealt deceitfully, right. If he designates her for his son, he shall deal with her as a daughter. Okay, I'm going to buy your daughter as my slave. I don't want her for myself, but I'm going to give her to my son to be his wife. Everybody's clear on that, right? Now, does that still happen today? Yeah, it does. Yeah, prearranged marriages and all that fall into this same category, right? 10, if he takes another wife to himself, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, or her marital rights. Stop right there. He has taken this daughter of another man as a slave to become his wife and decides to get another wife too. Nowhere in the Bible is that a thing of God. What is the word for having multiple wives other than stupidity? Polygamy is never okay with God. There are cults out there that say it's God's design. No, it's not. Go back to Genesis. He made one man and one woman. That's it. That's the concept of marriage, right? So all this other stuff where they have multiple wives, and I'll tell you why I have the biggest problem with it, because it also means so many mother-in-laws. So, come on, Jamie, that was funny. All right, so where am I? 19?
He shall not diminish her food.
Right, you can't not take care of the girl you've bought. Remember, the master-slave relationship is not what we would think about it. It is, he's got to keep her up, right? Just you know, it's not just. Well, I'm not going to say that because it's going to sound bad anyway. So if he takes another wife, he shall not diminish. So she or her marital rights. Yep. Okay. All right. None of that gets taken away from her. 11. And if he does not do these three things for her. Right? So that's the food, the clothing, and the marital rights. She shall go out for nothing without payment of money. She doesn't owe anything, even though she's his slave. And she doesn't get anything. Right? You know, and yeah, right. Almost like having a prenup, right? Anyway. So 12, whoever strikes a man so that he dies shall be put to death. I believe King James says it just a little bit different.
Yeah, he that smiteth a man so he die shall be cured.
Okay. This is capital punishment, right? This is where we get our concept for capital punishment, which is the death penalty. Okay? So if a man puts a man to death, he dies for it. Plain and simple. But if he did not lie in wait for him, but God let him fall into his hand, then I will appoint for you a place to which he may flee. Not murder, premeditated, manslaughter. Manslaughter. Yeah, that's exactly right. If you go back and you research manslaughter and how it became a law, this is where it came from. Well, I killed him, but I didn't mean to, or it wasn't premeditated. You can't prove it. I wasn't there. Anyway, so, but if he did not lie in wait, that's what I'm saying there. So 14, but if a man willfully attacks another to kill him by cunning, by laying in wait, right? You shall take him from my altar that he may die. Now, the ways of death depends on the type of death that he caused. It could be stoning. It could be beheading. It could be flesh-eating ants, right? Oh, boy. All right. 15, sorry. Whoever strikes his father or his mother shall be put to death. Notice how short that sentence is. And how powerful it is, right? Have you ever seen, let's go with the easiest one, a small child hit their parent because they weren't getting their way? I could never done that. Have you ever seen a teenager get so angry that they punch their parents? And once again, I could have never done that. I couldn't have, because I was raised different, right? But I've seen it so many times in my life. And then I get to this stage. They're all adults. And had I seen that man raise his hand to my mother that night, I'd have probably been in jail. There was a man that slapped my mama in the face as I was driving by, and I didn't see it. He was a family member, but not for long. Now, just to get off that bad point for a moment, I also went to the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus with my mother one time. And Emmett Kelly Jr., one of the greatest clowns ever, smacked my mother in the face with a dirty dust rag as part of the act. And we sat there and laughed.
No. He'd have been under the bleachers.
Yeah, that was funny. It really was. You had to have been there. But anyway. Emmett Kelly Jr., in case you didn't know, was the one dressed in the black coat, black hat, and a real sad face.
Any clown's a bad clown.
Oh, he was a sad, bad clown.
All of them bad.
All right. So anyway.
She likes Pennywise.
No.
Oh.
No, I don't.
Y'all float down here.
Yeah, I know.
16. Whoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him, shall be put to death. I had to, that's Pennywise. I can see him from here.
No, see,
It's bacon, but it looks
no,
like it is bacon.
I don't like bacon. I don't like clowns.
You don't like bacon?
No.
Ask her what she ate for lunch today.
Bacon?
It had bacon in it.
Does that not look like
It does.
Pennywise?
It does. I saw it as you passed
I'm
over.
gonna have nightmares. Thank God.
All right. So listen. Who's going to steal a man?
Anybody wants to kidnap somebody for profit.
For profit. That's exactly right. That happens more often than you can ever imagine. But those people shall be put to death. These are laws, people, in the Bible. Okay.
Look at the human trafficking that we see every day in this country and around the world now.
Mm-hmm. We need to go back to these rules.
Talk about hitting them and they might quit.
17. Whoever curses his father or his mother shall be put to death. Ouch.
See?
Ouch.
I said the same thing. I just said
Guilty.
that. I just said we all deserve mine.
Yeah, I understand.
Not his. No. He's got.
Look at her head bounce.
I love her. She's wonderful. I'm jealous. I'm so jealous.
Okay, sorry, I got to do this because you brought up the cleavers, right? June. Smart Kid Beaver. So, I don't remember where that came from, but I lose it every time I think about that.
It was that movie that they put out about the effects of smoking marijuana. I can't remember what the name of the movie was, but it was
Reefer Madness. Okay.
Reefer Madness.
It was hilarious. All right, sorry, I apologize. Don't be offended. Anyway, so I'm not cursing my mother or my father because I will be put to death. 18. When men quarrel and one strikes the other with a stone or with his fish, and that, excuse me, that word's fist, or with his fish.
You ever been slapped with a bat?
I'm trying to have a better evening. So when a man quarrels, strikes the other with a stone or with his fist, and the man does not die but takes to his bed. Stop. You ever heard that term? Takes to your bed?
Yeah.
Okay, my grandmother, my mother's mother, was in bed the last 52 years of her life. And that's the term that they would use. She had taken to her bed. So people that don't understand that, I have to ask this. Have you ever seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
That's where I was going.
The two sets of grandparents living in the same bed, that's the thing. They had taken to there was nothing wrong with them. Because Uncle Charlie got up and danced and, rode around and stole fizzy lifting drink. Okay, but that's what this means, right? They take to their bed, right? So, and the man does not die, but takes to his bed. Then, if the man rises again and walks outdoors with his staff, he who struck him shall be clear. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall have him thoroughly healed. So, you can imagine. Excuse me?
Is that like workman's compensation?
Once again, that's exactly where I was going. Can you imagine? You bump into somebody and they fall into a container of Jello, and then they can't get up, right? Yeah, you would. Anyway, so
I'll save you, suckers.
then if a man rises, he shall be clear, right? 20. When a man strikes his slave, different scenario, male or female, with a rod, and the slave dies under his hand, he shall be avenged. That means that the murder will stand and he will die for it, right? But if the slave survives a day or two, he is not to be avenged, for the slave is his, mine says money, but I saw one that said property. Yeah. 22. When men strive together and hit a pregnant woman so that her child come out, miscarriage if you will, but there is no, or early birth even, but there is no harm, the one who hit her shall surely be fined, as the woman's husband shall impose on him, and he shall pay as the judges or the judgment determines. But if there is harm, then you shall pay life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe, dogs and cats living together. You get the idea here.
You thought I was joking about that last night when we were talking.
No, I did not think he was joking. I told him that is not the right way to do it.
Right. Now, it also says later in the Bible, you have heard it said to take an eye for an eye. But instead, I tell you, if a man slaps you on the face, you should turn the other cheek to him.
See?
Yeah.
That's not the end of it, though.
But he's not telling you go out here and try and kill somebody just because they did something.
I didn't say that. I said the old way was if somebody killed a member of your family avenged that death. Plain and
Boys, avenge me!
Right.
Avenge me!
Hey, I got that movie at the house. Red Dawn.
The original.
I've got the original and the second.
I didn't really care for the second one as much. Red Dawn,
Patrick Swayze? Yeah.
Jennifer Grey.
Father.
No.
No, it wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be.
But man, what a great movie that was. Yes, we are. Thank you for joining in. Where am I? 26. Wow, we're getting through this in a hurry. I didn't expect that. But then again, we haven't got to the good part yet.
Nope.
So, 26. When a man strikes the eye of his slave, male or female, and destroys it, he shall let the slave go free because of his eye.
Oh my goodness, there you gotta let me go.
I can't stop laughing. Because what's coming up is funny. So if he knocks out the tooth of his slave, male or female, he shall let the slave go free because of his tooth.
Over a tooth?
Over a tooth. Yeah.
I put a raisin up in that thing.
So now, here comes the question.
Put a raisin there.
Now 28 is pretty good.
Well, I'm not there yet. I'm stuck on this one because if they pluck the eye out, they go free. If they break the tooth out, they go free. What if they break the eye tooth?
Be a vampire.
You'll never eat right again.
Yep. Only to the left, to the left, to the left. So, 28. Now, here's something we really have to worry about in today's society. Ready? When an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox shall be stoned, and its flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall not be liable. So there you go. You don't have to worry if your ox gores somebody and they die. Just kill it and walk away.
If my dog bites you, it's your own fault.
It doesn't say dog. It says ox. No, it doesn't fit. It's just the ox. They called it out.
only an ox?
That's only an
Only
ox.
the ox.
Right.
Don't even call it the other animal?
Sure.
Oh,
Not yet.
I'm just asking.
Yep. Up until that verse, that is correct, right? But if the ox has been accustomed to gore in the past and its owner has been warned, did I miss something? But has not kept it in, and it kills a man or woman, the ox shall be stoned, and the owner also shall be put to death. So even though I said no, it's just an ox for that specific thing, now let's translate it into today's society. Right. A vehicular, so you got to put that car out of its misery too. Yeah.
Better kill that 30-30 over there.
All right. So these people that let their dogs out all the time and they hurt people, yeah, that's an issue. If a ransom is imposed on him, then he shall give for the redemption of his life whatever is imposed on him. I read that and I read that and I read that. So if a ransom is imposed on him, then he shall give for the redemption of his life whatever is imposed on him.
Instead of ransom, say a fine. If a fine is imposed on him,
Right.
he shall pay that fine and be redeemed.
Right. Okay. I get that now. If it gores a man's son or daughter, he shall be dealt with according to the same rule. If the ox gores a slave, male or female, the owner shall give to their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. So, if your ox breaks free, don't say it. Ollie, oxen free. So your ox breaks free and kills someone. They kill the animal, they leave you alone. If it does it again, which would be kind of hard because it's dead.
Yeah.
But if you didn't kill it and it got out again and did it again, then you can be killed along with it. If it kills a child, then the fine is placed upon you. You pay the fine. But notice how this master-slave relationship comes out again. If it kills a slave, then the master is given 30 shekels of silver. So that's the price of a slave being gored by an ox. 30 shekels of silver.
Your ox killed my slave. You owe me money.
Now, how much was Judas Iscariot paid. Yeah, 30 pieces, right. So I've always thought, I wonder if there's a connection between that. And I got to thinking about, this is for a master slave. If the slave is hurt, the master gets compensated. 30 shekels of silver. How do we apply that to us? Something in here is gnawing at me that there is a way to see what happens. So let's read on. When a man opens a pit, or when a man digs a pit and does not cover it, and an ox or donkey falls into it, the owner of the pit shall make restoration. He shall give money to its owner, and the dead beast shall be his. You ever fallen into a hole? Yeah. I slaughtered this horse last Tuesday. I was afraid she's starting to turn. I can't even. There's so many stories I want to try to put into this picture, but it doesn't work. Not a single one of them. So we'll just move on. When one man's ox butts another's so that it dies, then they shall sell the live ox and share its price, and the dead beast also they shall share. Okay. I get it. I ain't owning no ox no matter what, right? They vicious critters. Got them big old crooked horns and all that stuff. All right, listen to this. Or if it is known that the ox had been accustomed to gore in the past, and its owner has not kept it in, he shall repay ox for ox, and the dead beast shall be his. They're in the desert. Why are all these rules being put on them?
Everybody just run around digging holes all day. I mean, it's so common that they got to make a law specifically about it.
Exactly.
A lot of people make pits, it's called a deadfall.
Yeah. It's also, they also had to dig wells and stuff like that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, it's like in the old west, you stole a man's horse and left him on foot, he would probably die. Well, I'd say if you took a man's ox, killed it or whatever, stole it, his family would starve.
That's right. That's right. Good thoughts. And those are just some of the laws.
Like having a car or something,
Yeah. So we got the 10 Commandments, and then we got, if you're going to build me an altar, build it out of dirt. Somebody said adobe, and I that makes sense, right? But don't carve the rocks. If you use stone, just put them in there natural, And then all these laws about slaves and ox and you would think, man, what a whole lot of rules to remember, and we're just in that second chapter of laws. We have another book to go through. 672 laws, I think, is the number. Aren't you glad we don't have to follow that? I mean, obviously, if my ox gets loose and kills your kid, you were going to kill that ox, right?
It's almost makes you wonder if God made it too hard to follow all of these laws, so that when he came and said, look, all this is ridiculousness, here's the way to get into heaven. The only way to get into heaven.
Which a lot of us still can't do. We still hold on to our sinful past. That's exactly right. What they're saying off camera is, it's just like they make up all these rules, and it gets worse because they become man-made rules at the end. They become ceremonial laws and things like that doesn't make any sense. And then God had it planned all along, true, but it's as if God came along and said, let's forget all that. Here's my son. Crucify him. Be done with it.
And it's like we've got laws of land still
Mm-hmm.
that are, y'all see
Yep.
You still gotta tying your car to a hitching post in front of the courthouse in Atlanta.
You still cannot tie a giraffe to a light post in Atlanta. You can't. It's in the law books.
There's one where you're not allowed to sit on a pole if it's over 40 feet tall. I'm like, where did that even
You know,
But I
it's
think
like,
I'm allowed to beat you on the courthouse steps, Alabama, Sundays.
It's all weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
a
one of them weird
lot of,
Good thing we don't live in
a lot of this, what comes to
Drag
mind,
you to Alabama and show you who's who.
what comes to mind in a lot of this is traffic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a way, that's what it seems like. Like where he was kind of setting Moses up to fail to begin with, he's also setting the children of Israel up.
Yeah. So where I was trying to get with all of those questions and make you think kind of things is this: an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and we heard that, and we heard the explanation. Jesus says it in the Sermon on the Mount, basically Matthew 5:39. Do not resist an evildoer. If anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn that other also. Right, and it's all about forgiveness. We have to remember that there is nothing that any person can do to us that is worse than what we've already done to ourselves.
Amen.
That's hard to understand, but when you understand that Jesus died for what you have not even thought of doing yet, that's when the reality sets in that I could do something worse, right? So that's what he's trying to say here. In forgiving, hurt is absorbed by the wrong person, but it is not recycled in revenge. I like the way he said that. And then, of course, it goes into more of the next laws coming up. So we got a couple more chapters of good law stuff here. So we'll have a degree in law before we're done. Not that it's usable for anything, but it's good to know. It's good to know. Questions?
comment.
Okay, comment. Go.
Did you see the part in where all of the apostles knew the law and they could recite it, and they all like anytime something would happen, they start reciting it. Matthew's just like, where do you all know this? I like that part.
That's from The Chosen? Yeah.
Yeah, because he was taken out and just concentrated on his math skills.
Right,
So he didn't have to learn the scriptures the way most Jewish boys do.
right, right. If you've never seen The Chosen, season 1 or 2 are free. Download the app and watch that. Season 3 is coming out soon. I saw a snippet of a couple of things the other day.
There's an app for it. If you've got like an iPad or a
Even a
You
cell
can do it
phone.
on your phone and it just passes.
Yeah.
He does what we do.
Yep. But yeah, The Chosen is very well done. Yes, they do take some artistic liberties, but nothing outrageous. I have not seen anything that I would say, no, that's not biblical, other than, well, that could have happened, you know. That's it, right? But man, it's a good show. Good series.
We've got it recorded off there.
It's good stuff, man. All right, then I'll go ahead.
We haven't watched it yet.
Oh, you haven't?
No,
you
because
need
I
to
don't
see
have
it.
time. I have 4 jobs.
I understand. I understand that. I understand that.
It's really good.
But you will like Mary of Magdala,
I don't know who that is, so
Mary Magdalene.
I don't know who that is.
That's the lady that wipes Jesus' feet with her hair and her tears. Yep. Yeah. We'll get to it. She's a pretty prominent. Always. But that's not what I was talking about.
Darn it. Took it and slashed it, didn't you?
No. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off so we can do our personal and private prayer request and do a Cupid shuffle and get out of here.
Amen.
All right, see you guys Sunday, 11 a.m.